Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the show. I'm here with a very special guest. I'm here with Miss Krystle, and I'm going to allow her to introduce herself and tell you guys a little bit about who she is and what she's up to these days.
Hello, team. Miss Krystle. I go by Top Music Attorney. I am the owner of Delgado Entertainment Law, and we've been doing our thing for, about 12 years now. And let's see, I do entertainment, which is essentially business law combined with intellectual property, but I love music. I've been doing music since I was 4. I'm classically trained. And so it's something that I really wanted to niche down on specifically because even before I went to law school, I just was so focused on being able to do this myself, protect myself in my own career. And I really wanted to figure it out. And then, of course, I signed bad deals. I got record label agreements and management agreements and all this stuff and got burned. And I made the decision actually to go to law school because I just wanted to know how to think like a lawyer, how to protect myself in my career. And funny enough, I got out of law school and I had lots of friends who were music makers and filmmakers. And so I go, well, I guess I have to do something for my friends. So I actually, took the bar, I got licensed, and then I was like, all right, well, I guess I'll just start a business because then I have, a proper housing for what I did. And so it just kind of grew. So actually it went from no real intention to ever be a lawyer to I felt like I had a real need, or more so an opportunity to help. And so that then progressed to the Top Music Attorney YouTube channel because I just want to have like all the information that took me a long time to figure out, not just about the law, about being a record label owner, about running a business, about running a team, how to do marketing, right? Not just for being a music creator, but if you're a business owner, how to market something as boring as law. It's a real art form. So anyway, I'm super passionate. That's why I do Top Music Attorney, is just really to have a resource that everyone can go to and get that help. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, it's a fantastic channel, and it's so important nowadays with the way the landscape is changing, especially. And I would love to get into AI because that's such a hot button topic, and the way that Spotify is using AI, and I'm sure other DSPs are using AI, is changing the way in which people who actually make music can interface with the industry. So can you give just like a 30,000 foot view of what's going on with AI right now and how that's interacting with artists and Spotify and so on?
The best place to always start with this conversation is defining what type of AI are we talking about? Are we talking about you using, AI as a tool because you have an Excel sheet and so you have Gemini that's going to help to summarize things, right? Or is it generative AI? So in the, landscape of all things AI is a tool, it's tech. And so in the realm of just music and, actually all the creative arts, the problem right now is that we've had this huge progression of generative AI. And then the companies that jumped in to do this, they didn't get clearances, right? Not just music, films, right? Pictures, paintings. But obviously with Top Music Attorney, we focus on the music. And so, it's just as many people have discovered using these platforms, AI is really amazing. It's powerful. It's almost discouraging, I think, for music makers who are like, boy, my style is to get together and jam and come up with cool melodies. And now you have something that will just do it for you. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of this crutch conversation. Mm-hmm. But setting that aside, the problem right now is that these companies went in and just took everyone's stuff and they didn't license it and they didn't get permission. And this is stuff, I can tell you, being a lawyer and doing this a long time, you get paid for the stuff that you have made, your YouTube videos, your music, you own it. And that's intellectual property law. And so when these companies came in and did it, and they're just like, you know what, we should get the exception. And the answer is no, you don't get the exception.
Wow. Okay. So they've taken stuff that people have made and they're using it however they want to, basically, to make their own revenue.
Yeah, well, and to train the AI, right? Importantly, they went and, for example, my office has filed class action lawsuits against Suno and Udio, which are the two biggest AI music generation platforms. And so what we allege is that these companies went in, actually, these companies admitted to doing this, so we don't have to allege it. So they admitted to, taking, in Suno's case, tens of millions of songs belonging to music makers. And here's how it is. The majority of the music on music platforms, like YouTube, like Spotify, are created by independent music makers who I represent. Mm-hmm. And so when we saw that there was, the labels going in and fighting the good fight and suing and this and that, I'm like, there's literally nobody, as always, there's nobody representing independent music makers to at least figure out a way to right this wrong that happened, let alone trying to figure out how to, if you do want to participate and license your stuff to these AI companies. And so I'm really trying to help in that aspect. And I felt just kind of looking around, I'm like, I'm not going to sit back and just talk about it. We're going to do something.
Awesome. It seems like these companies really don't care about artists making music, and it's really about making money for them. And that's really how it seems from Spotify. And when I guess when I talk about AI, because you're totally right, it is such a wide spectrum of what you can actually do with it. There is like using ChatGPT to find a useful word for a phrase in a song you're writing. And then there is like these programs that I've never used, like Suno, where you can just make entire songs and just use that. And then there's AI putting out Spotify bands, right? So where it's just entirely generative and just kind of saturating the market with that.
Well, quick question. I'm just curious, kind of, because you said you don't use Suno. So what's kind of your position with that as far as, because some people integrate it, right? We've heard people just being like, I use it for inspiration. And then there's others who kind of define themselves as music purists. And they're like, I'm not going to touch that, good for you guys, but I'm not going to do that. Where do you fall on that spectrum?
I don't touch it. I don't touch it. I don't know if I have my strongest opinion is about like Spotify just using AI bands and just like throwing music into the market that way. Less of a strong opinion about people using it as a tool, even if they want to use it as a tool further than I want to. But also part of it for me anyway, at least my creative process, how I went about writing Melody of War, was like I love spending days in the studio creating, producing, writing parts, writing string parts, writing choir parts for whatever section. So like that, I get a deep enjoyment out of that, and that part of the process would get removed if I were to use, a software program that produces those things for me. So I think it's like part moral, because I do like the soul of creating it, but it's also just a preference thing and like how I enjoy my music making process. If that makes sense.
I heard someone express this. I thought this was in the Christian music realm, and saying that in the spirit of expression, if you are in the glory of God or spiritual purpose of the music, that having a robot make the music eliminates that. I don't know if you agree with that.
Yeah, I think there is definitely a soul. I mean, well, I'm agnostic as far as all things religious, really, but a soul in creating the music, in that the song came from a real person, basically. So, it's like the lyrics of a song written by a robot or written by an AI model of some kind is like, well, those lyrics, they like can't have the same meaning because they didn't come from like a human experience of it. And it's a little different when you're writing parts, right? If you're writing, a drum track or something, like that's a little more separated from it, I suppose. But
and I think on the somewhere in between where a lot of people fall, even with like the Copyright Office, with performance rights organizations in the United States, BMI, ASCAP, for example, all of them are essentially like, we get that you guys are using it in some capacity, and so we're going to recognize that, and we're still allowing you to register, and we're still allowing you to do these things. Where they do draw the line is if it's 100% AI generated, you just put in words, you just, got your lyrics from ChatGPT, you have no, you can't collect royalties, you can't copyright, for at least US protection.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so they draw the line at 100% AI made, but let's say you use one of these programs, it completely writes a song for you, and you just re-record that song, but with actual people. Do you have to tell them that, or do you just, do you just submit it and that goes through? I mean, this is like I guess a lot of gray area here as far as how you can.
Well, it is gray area, and actually the biggest concern that comes up is that if you do that, remember there's two sides of a song, right? There is the final recorded version. So really, with the example you just said, if someone goes and re-records it, well, you have a new recorded version. But what about the underlying composition? There's a different copyright, and so the issue is that if the music that the AI trained on wasn't cleared, and there's legal problems with that, and now that's being used to create your song, well, are you protected? Are you good to go? I would say no. So that's the one thing I just want to express for people who do that, and my huge concern about it right now. But setting that aside, as far as just recreating, again, what did you make? right? So if you replayed it, you go, well, it's my original performance on the recording. Yes, but again, is it not your words? Is it not your arrangement? Is it not your bass line? So it is, as you say, kind of a moving target, and it gets real messy.
Yeah, absolutely. It is, and I feel like it's moving so fast too. So like how do DSPs like Spotify play into all this? Like the song that, I assume there have got to be a bunch of artists that are producing songs that way. Like they produce the song and then they record their own version of it, right? And then that goes up. But how would they get flagged? How would that get flagged for anything?
Yeah,
how would you get
one
caught
thing
doing that, basically?
Oh, I'll tell you the way, but the first thing is just remember, if you're like, I'm using, Suno to finish my song or to get ideas because I'm just going to re-record it myself. Remember that these platforms say in their terms of service, which is the contract that you agree to when you sign up, that you are giving them permission always and forever. You can't take it back. You give them permission to train on your stuff. And for some people, they don't know that, and it's a really big deal. You can't take that back. So that's one. If you do decide to ever upload your music for remixing purposes, for inspiration purposes, whatever. But besides that, back to your, can you get exposed, or how does that work? At least with Deezer, so similar to Spotify, Deezer took a real hard stance. And we're like, we're not about it. And so what we're going to do is we're not only going to tag if your music is made with AI, if you put it on our platform, but also we're not paying you royalties. So we're going to exclude you. That's not the case, obviously, for Spotify, but the big, update Spotify gave was that it's going to allow you to disclose if you used AI. So it's kind of like Scout's honor for people who use it.
Okay.
That's the intention. The Spotify is saying it wants to encourage transparency, but to be honest, between you and me, Spotify is very pro tech, very pro AI, so they're trying to figure it out because they're going to make more money if they do.
Yes. Yeah, so it's like check. It's kind of YouTube, I guess. You check the box if it's AI, right? If you have AI content in your videos, and you could just check that even if there is, or do you think YouTube has a better system for actually flagging if something is AI created or not?
The way they're going to do it with music platforms is, again, you would tell your music distributor, right? So that's basically the step. And so if you just literally don't say it, again, it's not going to be disclosed. And so there's the transparency issue. So, obviously some people were a little leaning towards maybe the rest of the platform should be like Deezer, just on the consumer, like we want to know. People seem to really care. And even if they are, they're like, I don't care if it's, AI music. They still want to know if it's a real person or not.
Yes. That's kind of where I stand too. I actually there's no way to stop AI, and a lot of it's really useful and really interesting and cool, and there's so many advantages. I think people just should know. That's kind of where I'm at. It's like, it'd be great if there were a system where all, fully produced AI music, it would be, I don't know, some kind of label on the song on Spotify. It's like, this was created by AI. It still sounds good. It's still catchy. You can like it and enjoy it like any other song, but like, this is made by AI versus this was made by, a human artist. I think that would be great if we could get that in place, but I don't know if that's possible.
Another, I think, good argument would be to just have a different platform, have a whole different funnel for AI music, AI artists. And the reason is because, remember, back to on Spotify, it's a big pool. So your music, your different groups that you're a part of, right? Your music and your ability to get paid is based on your pro rata share of streams and stuff like that. So if you are now getting drowned out, regardless of where you land with AI music, you're getting drowned out because, these platforms, just Suno alone is generating 7 million new tracks per day. And so a whole lot of those are getting onto these platforms. So so just on the, this idea of let's just have the different platforms that can be like the AI Spotify. They have their own advertiser dollars, their own subscriber dollars, and they can pay their artists. You know what I mean?
That's a great idea. Is there any chance of that? Would they ever go for something like that, or do they like that it's muddy and diluted and you can't tell?
Well, what is it? Sora 2? Hopefully I'm saying that right. So, this is a video platform where it is only AI. So this is the first one that we are seeing that is doing very well. And in fact, we just saw this insanely huge deal where the film studios said you can use our characters on your platform to have your user create AI videos. Like, it's real. It's wild. what's happening
Wow.
right now. So actually, to that, there is in fact a platform that is just for AI videos, and so we're gonna kind of see how this stuff keeps developing.
Oh my gosh. How do you think about all this and how it relates to your music? Because you've got one foot very much in the legal side of things and one foot very much in the fully artistic side of things, where you're writing and creating your own stuff. I mean, what do you put in place to, I don't know, protect yourself against these kind? I mean, I guess if any copyright issues come up, like, how to handle all that stuff, which is nice. But how do you think about it? You're in a really unique position that way.
Well, I guess what I do is that if I feel like someone is trying to steal my music, I sue them. But except I'm not the plaintiff here; I'm the lawyer. So there's that. But in kind of what I do, it's actually all the initial steps, and it's funny enough with prompters, people who make AI content, which is a paid job now. I still have the same recommendations to them as I do to independent artists, which is, how do you protect yourself? So if I was doing a consult with you and I'm asking all about your projects, I'm going to be like, okay, have we filed for copyright protection in the United States? And I would explain to you why, and explain to you that that's one of the best ways for you to make money later. And it's one of the most valuable pieces of your entire career is to actually get your registrations. We would talk about all your different brands, right? Getting your trademarks. Have we gotten the actual name registered on the federal level just yet? If the answer is no, I'd explain to you again, this is a very valuable piece of what you're doing. You don't build a channel with 400,000 subscribers and not have that associated with the name that you use. So anyway, as far as what do we do? What about the contracts? When you do a deal and you're in your groups, do you guys have anything that specifies what happens if someone leaves the group? What happens if you need to go and license it? So all the stuff on buttoning up the legal aspect is literally what we do with the channel to explain this stuff, but also why I say, get a lawyer. You need one, okay?
So can you just run through like exactly what you guys handle at your firm in terms of IP and the rest of it?
So IP, so intellectual property, meaning trademarks, copyrights. So the names, the actual creative stuff, your music, that's one side. But actually the other side is business. So if we say, okay, what's the business plan for 2026, right? What's the marketing side of it? What kind of endorsement deals, affiliate deals, again, internal agreements with all of the collaborators, and maybe you have employees or you have contractors. So all of that stuff on building out, even just templates. I'm a big fan of like one and done, make the investment, and then you can just change out names. Know what it says. So I'm huge on all of these things, but in structuring this and understanding that anything you're trying to build in the creative space, you're a business. And so that's why I'm always like, you need to think of yourself as a record label. You need to figure out your distribution. You need to get your IP protected. Like, if you just think like a record label, you will act like it. And then guess what? You won't need someone else. You just need yourself.
How long ago did you turn towards that, thinking of yourself like a record label, and how has that affected your own music and how that's working?
Yeah, let's see. Duke's Up, that was, probably a decade ago at this point. But obviously, even before that, I started my first business when I was 16. And with that, I just had this idea that I don't want anyone ever to control what I do. And maybe I'm just bossy.
No, I love
but
that.
more of just being like, I think that there's so much opportunity. And so if we don't ever hold ourselves back, which is just what this is, we have beliefs about how things should be, or that we don't know how to do stuff. And so we don't believe that we can just go and figure it out. And so, I know that in fact is not the case, but I also had to go and learn those lessons. So anyway, but that's a little bit of my just journey on, kind of doing it myself. And when I went to college, I just had like no money, I had no support. And so I needed to figure it out. And I started competing in pageants. And I didn't do that because I wanted to be a pageant girl. I did that because you could get scholarship money. And I started winning, and I started getting really good at essays and all this stuff. So it's just more of like, figure it out. If you want to do a music video and you're 16 and you're watching this, and you're 18, you're watching this, and you want to do an album, literally figure it out. If you have no money, there's still a solution. And so actually what I did, again, I was completely broke. My first music video, I reached out to this choreographer here in Arizona, Lisa Starry. And so I had seen that she had this like performance that she did every year. It was like this vampire thing. And I was just so amazed because I'm so into like the vampire visuals, the super, dramatic orchestral kind of music. It's so my vibe. And so I was just inspired. And so I reached out to her. I'm like, I don't know, maybe if, and I sent her my music and I made my plea and she said yes. It was the most incredible thing. And so she, let me come into their space, their theater, their actors, and we did this whole performance thing. And that was the first time I was like, wow, if you show your passion, if you are passionate, but you actually reveal that to other people and you find people who want to collaborate with you, number one, you will be able to do it despite challenges. But then on the flip side, I started to realize the very important nature of value. And just asking for stuff, that's not how we do this. The best way to network, hands down, is to say, this is something I can do for you. Hey, I thought you were amazing, and I would really love to help you. So you lead with just an offer. And then, if something naturally kind of evolves from there, because people are shocked when you don't just selfishly say, help me. So that became a really big part, because over the following years, it was the same unfortunate story. I was broke. I was trying to go through, college. But I wasn't going to let that stop me.
Awesome. And do you actually have a record label now that you run? Is that part of what you do, or do you just think of yourself like a record label?
Yeah, I'm in the build your music business enterprise. And so when I started my thing, I was like, I'm not looking to sign other artists in the traditional record label kind of thing. I want to have something formal. So if I submit, to a show, it's from my record label. There's a much more professional edge. You have a professional email. You have a website, So that's always what I have done. And to the extent I've ever kind of helped, people to then do the same thing for themselves. And if you want to sign people, that's great. Just build the framework. That's all you need. But it's the same framework, whether you're just signing yourself or you're signing other people.
Okay, so how would you set up a record label? Like, how would I set up a record label for if I wanted to have one for me and the Bass Gang and artists on the Melody of War creative team or whatever? How would I go about that?
Yeah, well, actually, in your case, if you have a group, it's way more important, because a record label is essentially a company. I would say, let's do a limited liability company. Okay, it's the best structure. Let's not even worry about the corporation structure at all. We're doing an LLC. Okay. And then the most important document that goes with that is called an operating agreement. And so the operating agreement, it's the rules of the road for you guys and how you're going to run things. And the most wonderful thing that happens is that it specifies who gets to do what. So for bands, for groups, this is important, because it's like, are you guys equal in your say on voting? Who gets to go and just spend money? Where does all that money go, right? So you should have a business bank account for your LLC. So it creates a really important structure for the operation of the relationship, but also at the end, when someone needs to leave. Tony's had a baby and he's going to retire. And so Tony helped on all the music. Well, guess what? As a group, the way that it works is that under the law, each of you that contributed to the music, you have copyright ownership, okay, as joint authors. But the thing that the operating agreement should do is it should say, hey, we are vesting ownership to the company. So if you don't do that, it gets real messy. So you go, it's vested to the company. So we, as a company, can license out the IP, right? We can do endorsement deals for the name. So it's actually a very simple process, and it's something any lawyer can help you with. And in fact, you could even do it yourself. But again, doing this to protect yourself as a group, very important, but even as an individual, still do it. Literally, when I was 16, first business, I was an in-home instructor teaching people music, and I started my LLC. I don't care if you have no money just yet. We're getting the structure of this perfect. And then you can just build on it, and you can focus on your art. You can focus on all the fun stuff.
And then if you wanted to have like a bunch of artists under the same umbrella, how does that change the game?
Yeah, so what happens is with the LLC, the other huge important piece is that it creates a liability shield to stop people from going after your personal assets. So if you have anything of value, you have a bank account, you have a house, you have a car. If you have an LLC that you're doing your business, you're signing your contracts with, if something happens, you're doing a live show and you punch someone in the face because they were getting a little too close to your girl, whatever. For purposes of the show, the lawsuit, the issues now involve the LLC, your group. So it's a liability protection for everyone and their personal assets, which is important. I just went off track. What was your question again?
Oh yeah, so I get it for setting up like for the Bass Gang, right? So we've got Bass Gang, LLC, operating agreement.
And then how do we sign people, right?
Yeah, how do you get like a number of people under the same thing?
Yeah, so then in that same respect, using the LLC name for all the things, you sign the contract. So we do a recording agreement. So you do your label agreements and you say, hey, I'm signing Peter We're going to do, a 2 album deal, a single song deal, whatever it is. And this is what's going to happen. This is who owns it. This is what the percentage is. So you sign it under that LLC, which is going to be your record label.
Okay. Very cool. I'm gonna have to hire you, I think, is the TLDR of this conversation.
Or watch TMA, right?
That's right. Okay, I want to get into your background and training. You mentioned classical training, which is obviously very near and dear to my heart. That's like, I mean, I still sing opera professionally, so classical's, a big part of what I was raised on, or not raised on, actually, just trained on. But let's get into your background. So you mentioned starting out performing or singing when you were 4. So just like walk me through that. I mean, were you a theater kid? Were you in band? How did the childhood love of music turn into, what we're seeing nowadays?
Yeah, so the singing, the performing, that happened when I was in my teens. So the progression was when I was 4, my mom, who's classically trained, she's from New Zealand. She moved to the States, she married my dad, and she had, there's 5 of us, and we were all homeschooled. So part of our homeschool curriculum is that every day was just music, all the greats. And as I got older, right, so you started, at least in my case, I started on piano. So I started on piano, and then it became violin, which became cello, and a little bit of guitar. And then when I was like 12, 13, my mom, she had started a family band with my sisters. I was like, oh, this is great. And so I started writing songs for the first time, and she helped to produce my first 2 songs. I had Good Girl, Bad Girl. That was one.
Nice.
I'm forgetting the other one. But anyway, so she helped me, and she was always like, you're so great. Let's do this. What do you want to do? So she was extremely supportive, and she showed me how to do music production, using Pro Tools and all of that. So it was very much like DIY. But anyway, so the first time I started performing was actually because my mom just made space. She came over for Thanksgiving, and she was reminding me of this. She goes, Krystle, I couldn't stop you. She goes, when we were doing like a photo shoot for our band, you were, 12 at the time, and you wanted to be a part of the photo shoot. You weren't in the band or whatever, and you showed me, you dragged me into the room, and you showed me your outfits that matched ours. And so she goes, so I let you be in some of the pictures. And then I basically forced my way into their live shows. I was like, let me do a little mini set. I'm going to do a 2-song thing in the middle of your guys' set. And she let me, and she supported me. So anyway, that's when I first started, realizing how much I loved expressing my feelings, which were very bottled up in my teens.
Naturally.
Yeah, that's how it started.
Okay. And so, I mean, was that most of what you did, all throughout high school, was performing in that kind of situation, or did you do musical theater, or were you in choir or any of that?
Yeah, so in the homeschool curriculum, we did a lot of stuff out of the house, if that makes sense, but more so dancing and curricular activities like that. So no, it was very much just what we did at home on the day to day. And then when I started performing, it was like festivals, small venues, you know what I mean? So we were just taking any and all opportunities. And I hate to even say this because someone's going to find something someday, but I went on some reality TV shows. You know what I mean? We were doing all the things.
Interesting. But then you didn't go to college for music, right? You went for
I did not. Can I tell you something? I don't know if I've ever told anyone this. I auditioned. It was at ASU, and I auditioned for the music business school. And I went in and did like this voice thing, and I don't know why I was thinking they were looking for some kind of operatic thing. It wasn't a fit. That's not how I sing. And anyway, I didn't get the gig. And I just remember, to be totally honest, I remember being kind of relieved, because I go, but this isn't what I want to do. Like, classical music was my entire life, being raised on what I played, on what I listened to. And so when I didn't have to feel like I was being forced to go this classical route, I actually pivoted. And that's when I did my first album that was like a dark pop record. And I produced it. I got funding because I got an honors thesis thing. So anyway, no, it was such a blessing.
Yeah, no, I think you dodged a bullet. The classical world is it's a different beast entirely. I mean, there's immense challenges for any genre you go into. But speaking as an opera singer, it's a pretty brutal, very long career path just to even kind of get the ball rolling. Like, you've got to just train and train and train and do this program and do that program and get this pedigree and win this competition before you even get your foot in the door of like the professional world, as opposed to like, you go into pop, I mean, you can be a star very young. Like, you can have an immense amount of success early on in that career. Not to say most people do, right? It's incredibly competitive. But, like, at least there's not that requisite amount of time you have to put in before anything has a chance of happening. And there's a million other things wrong with the classical world anyway. But
question though, was that a path that you put yourself on, or that you were put on and that you followed?
It was really interesting. I mean, I was all about sports throughout high school. Like, everything I did musically was because my mom kind of encouraged me to do it, and I could sing. And she was a cellist, so she had some experience with the classical world, but I was in a jazz group and I did choirs here and there when she nudged me towards it. And then my senior year, she finally encouraged me to get like actual classical voice lessons, like opera lessons. And the teacher was like, you should do this in college. And I was like, okay, well, I'm either going to go to college for sports or for music. So we'll see what happens. And then I ended up getting better offers for music. So I ended up kind of falling into it, I suppose. And I studied opera for a couple of years, kind of got spooked by it. It was like too intense. And so I switched to music production, finished my undergrad in music production, and then actually switched back to opera going into my master's and beyond. And that's when like I felt like I chose it, was at that point. And I'm still doing it now, but when the pandemic hit, I got back into music production and I started the YouTube channel. So now there's, both sides are running in tandem right now. So I've got one foot in the new world with everything online. I've got one foot in the old world, still performing as an opera singer. But I have chosen it at this point. In college, it felt a little bit like I fell into it.
Yeah, amazing. So interesting. And I know what you're talking about on, it goes deep as far as what's, that whole world. And there is a world for all these paths. There is such a world. But here's the beautiful thing about what you did is that you created your own world.
Yeah, that's true. And actually, what's really interesting is like writing this new piece, Melody of War, I've been able to bring elements of like all the different kind of musical worlds I've operated in. So like there's basically orchestration for like the entire thing, which is very much pulled from like classical, like romantic period is like my favorite era of the classical world. But then it's very much modern genres. Like there's rock in there, there's pop in there, there's some folk in there. And it's this weird culmination of like all the different kinds of music I've really gone deep into. And I think that's also what's made it so fun to write and produce, is because it's just like, I'm just going to write the music that I want to write, that I think tells this story the best. And I literally just spent like 1,200 hours in this studio alone, just writing it. Just like no distractions, no influence, no polls about like, what do you guys want to hear? It's just like, I'm going to write the music that, that I love and that I think is going to tell the story. And it was great. What
a transformative thing to go through. Yes. I've been kind of sharing on my podcast about this social media journey that I'm on. So there's no interruption, there's no delay, there's no one to influence what you're doing. So it's kind of part of what I'm doing on this like posting every day thing, but it's really focusing on just the art form of doing it. So that's really cool. And actually one of the thoughts that I had, so I saw you were advertising for, the album. So it looks like you want to have different vocalists playing different parts, right?
Yeah.
And so the thing that came to mind is again, agreement. You want to make sure that whoever performs on the music, if the intent is that you will have final ownership and maybe you'll share royalties, or if you're paying them to do the performance, whatever. However you structure it, if you do not have that agreement saying that it's work for hire and that you own it, every single person who participates on the performance is going to have a copyright claim. And this is one of the most missed things for music creators, that they don't do this. And it just creates so many problems because you never do these things to have something fail. Something starts doing well, and then people start coming after you for stuff that you never agreed to. So it's very messy, but for different business owners out there, work for hires is like, then it's the number one agreement that you need to have.
So you can do a work for hire, but still give someone a split of royalties?
Yeah. You got it. Well,
that's definitely the move.
It's your agreement. It's just a contract. So within the four corners of the agreement, put whatever you want. But the most important thing says the final thing under copyright law belongs to my company. Hopefully you have an LLC, right? Belongs to the LLC. If you don't have it, set it up.
I do actually, as of recently, yes.
Okay, good.
Okay, cool. Well, what kind of musical projects are you working on now for your solo project?
Yeah, so right now it's funny because I'm actually doing this re-envisioning of the catalog because I have this philosophy. Unless you have millions and millions of plays every single day on every single song, no one's heard your stuff. There's a lot of people in this world. And if that's the case, then you should get really good at marketing your content on remarketing. People do not post their music enough at all. And so in finding different verticals of types of content to promote, this is like this thing that I'm getting so excited about. I'm kind of obsessed with because I've had such interesting results on posting every day, trying these different types of content. So it's actually more on re-envisioning the back catalog under the theory, no one's heard it, right? But also with the new music, of course, I just, I have the process. So Orko, who not only is the show producer, but also, and I think you dealt with him to set this up, but also is the producer of all the music. We're working on the new stuff. And so in us refining our process to, just make it as fluid as possible, I just want stuff fast. And it's actually one of the things that I love on, like, I obsess too much about the music. He obsesses about stuff too long. And so we're trying to make it so that it's this, like, from the point of the idea to when it actually is born and released into the world to shorten that time frame.
What have you learned from experimenting with social media and reposting and re-envisioning? What kinds of things work? What kinds of things don't?
So, for example, posting every single day. So the goal is I'm going to post every single day for a year, no matter what. So in having that one, it just takes down the pressure, but also in doing stuff that I think is cool. That was the biggest unlock for me because whereas there may have been a little, I'm bummed out if it kind of bombs and I spend all this time on it and whatever, that doesn't really exist anymore with the content that I do in the law space because it's for other people. So however it performs is however it performs. With my very special music, right? Sometimes that crept up and it doesn't now. And the reason why is because everything that I'm creating, I think is cool. So I'm like, if someone got to see it and got to be a part of my journey, that's awesome. And I hope I find the right people who like the stuff that I'm doing. So that was one. Number two, it's like, you're going to literally post the next morning, so you don't have to worry about how anything does. And three, what I have found is that through that consistency, because I was like, oh my gosh, every time I post my music, I don't know if you've had this experience. Every time I post my own song, it gets crushed by the algorithm versus doing something that's kind of trendy versus, you know what I'm saying? So anyway, I go, I part of this experiment, I'm going to see if I can retrain the algorithm by retraining my audience. I'm going to get them trained to want to see these little bits that I'm doing. And so that's going to get them watching longer, and that's going to get the algorithm to push my stuff up. So first week I did this, everything bombed. Across the board, it did just as terrible as I thought it was going to. But what was really interesting is that by week 2, there was like 1 or 2 posts that did, like 50% better than my normal performance, which would, be a couple thousand. And all of a sudden I had something that was like 10,000. I had something that was like 12,000. And so anyway, now, we're day 61 into this. And so what I'm noticing is that there will be these spikes of like 70,000, 50,000. So it's been just this very fun journey on really, seeing, can I get one post that was free for me to post? It didn't cost me anything. So organic social, I got 70,000 people to hear my song for the first time. Is that a win for the day? It sure is. But you know what? The people who saw the 3,000 view video, was that a win? Because people then went and knew about the song and listened to it? Absolutely. So anyway, I always do this stuff and I talk about it through Top Music Attorney because, on the creative side, just to super honest, what's my experience? How am I getting through it? Because there's so much psychology that goes into this stuff for us. Yes. And then most importantly, what did I learn so it can help people who listen?
Fantastic. Have you noticed anything about the posts that pop off? Like, what do they have going on that's special, or does it really seem, given how much you're really carefully looking at it, does it seem kind of like it's still hard to predict? Like, you just have to, like, volume negates luck, basically. Just like, if you get enough out there and it's all good, something will pop off.
Yeah, so actually, that's exactly why I said testing different types of content that you like is a really important piece of this. I'll see if I can pull up an example really fast. But yes, what I found is that there's certain content that I'm doing where I'm vertical, sideways, horizontal. Let me pull it up so I can make sense. But anyway, the point is that if you have enough volume, if you're like, I posted 20 times and everything bombed or whatever, that's not enough posts for us to be able to look at and be like, well, if you post 100 times, there's going to be one that did better. And did better does not just mean views. If I'm looking at your content, for example, I go, well, what performed well on how many saves? How many comments? How many shares? Because at the end of the day, you're just trying to find real people who care about what you're doing, whatever that number is. Like, people obsess so much about getting a marketing team. They obsess about getting a PR agent and all this stuff to try to get into a magazine. I'm like, what's that going to do? Even if you do, you'll have 50 people who might be online that day who might, click on the blog, see your thing, versus you posted and you got 10,000 people to see your piece of content. So just to go direct to your fans, it's important.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, there is a lot of psychology to it. I do think posting often helps, because then, like, the posts don't feel so sacred. You know, if
Yes,
you're posting
that's
like
a good word.
if you're posting like once a week and you're like, it's going to be the best post ever and everyone's going to love it, and then it bombs, you're like, I'm a failure. But if you post Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, it's like, if your post Monday doesn't do well, you're like for Melody of War, I'm trying to post a lot more than I post on like my solo account. I'm trying to post multiple times a week. I would post more. If I could, I need my editor to have some more time, but we're going to be posting a lot, right? It's this huge project. We're going to have endless content. We're hopefully going to be posting every day on at least Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. And because of that, it's like, I'm just thinking like one more brick in the temple. You know, like this is a massive multi-year project. Like, it can't, my psychology around it can't hinge on how one post does out of what will be thousands, literally thousands when it's all said and done. And that's been a really helpful reframe. Just like, it doesn't even matter how this post does. It's just one more brick in the temple.
Right. And for me, I'm a very busy lawyer, law firm owner. I have 15 people on the team, and I have these 2 massive class action lawsuits. I decided to do this, remember, 60 days ago. So I didn't have any new time. I made this happen for 2 reasons. One, it's the first thing I do now, because as you know, you open your WhatsApp, you open your email, and there's some problem, there's something that you need to do.
The fire you
so by making this, so making it the discipline, that's the thing you do, 1, so it's a priority. And then, 2, and I had to figure out how to do this faster. So to your point, you have an editor. So there's something that is slowing down your process, which means you need to refine your process. You need to have some other vertical of content that you do that maybe you can do faster. So let me show you a couple of examples of what I'm talking about. I'm going to share. You want to give me that access?
Yep.
Let me be the boss for a sec.
You got it.
Okay, here we go. All right, so I'm just focusing. This is Instagram. And so on Instagram, to your point, you're like, well, which ones are doing well? So these ones, this vertical that I had tried on the sideways videos, each one promoting, 7 to 14 seconds, did really well. I have this other thing that I'm doing with like apocalypse theme, kind of vampire-esque, all just performing to the song. And very simple, it's a black background. There's nothing really special about this, but this allows me to do this quickly. So you have the same look, and then you end up doing the same thing to 5 different songs that you spread out. You go to the park and you shoot the same 5 songs. So it's very much about
the horizontal vertical is really, I don't think I've ever seen that before. Why does that work? Why do people like that? Because it's new or different, or?
I haven't seen anyone else do it, and I just liked it. So, and whatever reason, it's doing well. So
and you just tried it one day?
But here's the thing.
You're just like, I'm just going to try this new format?
Yeah, and in fact, the first time didn't even do that well. I just liked it. So back to I'm doing stuff that I like. I'm doing stuff that I think is cool. And so by that, I'm going to hopefully find the people who like that as well, because it's not going to be everybody. Someone might be like, oh, that's cheesy. I don't like it. That's okay.
Yeah.
It's not for you.
Yeah. So you do things you like, but then within that, you will continue to optimize and refine based on what performs well.
Yeah, and it just opens up. So if I told you, I'm like, Peter, I need you to post every single day at least 1 time. So now that's the challenge. You have to figure out how to do that with the same time that you have. But then also, right, just looking at the data over time. But then also, it's going to open something up in your brain that's not happening right now. This happened to me. And it was a very cool, unexpected consequence, which is by forcing space to do something every single day, now got me thinking about, what am I going to do tomorrow? Because I know tomorrow's coming. And so it's helping to unlock that creativity that it gets crushed down. You're running a business, you're stressed, you have family and friends and whatever's going on. The creative side of you, I think, is something that you have to foster every single day.
Totally. It's really important to find. This is something I've been thinking about a lot. Is finding the, you know, the midpoint between what you want to do and what the audience would like you to do, and finding things where both of those make a lot of sense. It's what I've been discovering for the YouTube channel really over the last few months, and it's been doing so well. Like, it's been performing better than it ever has by a mile, because there's this intersection of like, oh, there are actually things that are popular and trendy that I'm actually interested in and want to. For me, it's, you know, doing super in-depth musical analysis on songs, basically what I do. So like K-pop Demon Hunters comes out and I'm like, I'll check this out. And I ended up loving the music and like loving doing analysis for it. And then I'm going through Has-Been Hotel. I don't know if you've heard of this show on Amazon Prime, but it's great. Yeah. It's like basically like an animated musical. There's a few songs per episode. Otherwise it's, you know, dialogue. And I've had so much fun breaking down the music from these shows that also happen to be really popular. And so it's like getting to do what I enjoy doing for the channel and having it just reach more people because it's just a little bit more in the mainstream has been like a really good thing. For a while on the channel, it's like, well, I'm just going to do only what I really think I can dig into with good analysis, and like whoever finds it, great. And it's like some people found it, right? But if I can do that while also just getting more people involved, you know, sharing the analysis, being a music nerd for more people, basically, it's like just gonna go for that, and it's been working super well for the YouTube channel.
Well, and for all of your followers, I would say also conversely, if you find your flow, and it just so happens that Has-Been Hotel is not popular, but you just freaking love it, I am also a big advocate for you, again, retraining the algorithm by retraining your audience. So meaning you want to find the people who dig that same thing. It means you're going to have less numbers, and that's okay. I've had to do this so many times, from music to even Top Music Attorney, because I started having these videos go viral because I was doing music video reactions to like rap videos and talking about the criminality and whatever. I'm like, at the end of the day, it doesn't serve my purpose of trying to educate and help people in the music space. So I stopped doing that, and lo and behold, my numbers went way down. I go, that's okay. I'm gonna figure this out. Yeah.
That's great. I mean, you have to have a core of what you want to do and what you believe in, whatever your kind of mission is in the music world, right?
Yeah, because when you wake up and you're like, why am I doing this again? Because, there's all the long list of negative reasons and things you're dealing with. And then you have to be like, why am I doing this? Why am I doing my music? Mm-hmm. Why am I doing my YouTube channel? And so if you don't, you always need to reestablish that reason. Yeah. It'll help drive you every day.
So speaking of just getting inspiration for things, I mean, music law, music entertainment, this must get you fired up equally as much as making music, because I can't even imagine the undertaking of having your own firm and having, however many you said, 15 employees and managing all that. So that must get you fired up as well, maybe in a different way though.
It is in a different way. I've always said this. I'm like, I felt conflicted, the dichotomy between really loving education, loving to learn. It's one of the things that bring me so much joy every single day, is just to learn something new. And then the arts, which is a different side of your brain altogether. And so somehow I've made it work with the music that I make, and then, the law firm. But it's a lot of fun. And I was saying this last night. I go, I'm so grateful to be an intellectual property attorney, to be a music attorney right now, when all of this is happening with AI, when not only can I be a part of the conversation, I can lead the conversation on my channel, and guess what? I can actually file lawsuits. I can help people with their cases. So, it's a ton of work. It's exhausting, but it's so very worth it.
How are the lawsuits going? You said you had two big ones ongoing
right
now?
We're suing Suno and Udio, and we are fighting through motions to dismiss right now, and they're going well. The principal claim they're not even trying to fight us on, which is copyright infringement, which is you stole a bunch of music without authorization. So that's not even one thing we're fighting about yet, because they don't necessarily disagree. But on some other things, I mean, it's just it's war. And so I am personally hundreds of hours into this, which has been part of that time constraint on just what it takes to handle these lawsuits.
Is this based on them using your music, or is this a fight for at large how they're using people's music?
No, it's about independent music creators. And in fact, I had to make that decision at the very beginning of this case, whether I wanted to bring this as the lead plaintiff, because they took my music. And I decided that in order to do this correctly, and I had already been tracking this for a year leading up to it, and I go, in order for me to do this correctly, I have to be in charge of it. So that means I have to be the lawyer. So that's why I decided to do this, because again, Who knows what's going to happen? I can't guarantee anything. But in order to do this right, I needed to do it.
If you have any free time, this is what I love to ask guests at the end, as we get to the end. Like, what are your hobbies outside of what you do career-wise?
My other obsession, as I would like to put it, is just health. I love biohacking. I love, figuring out how to not only feel better, to be happy on a day-to-day basis, but I really understand, I like to understand the science. Like the last thing I did, I bought a hyperbaric oxygen tank. I didn't buy it, sorry. I rented it. Nice. It was very expensive. This thing's like thousands of dollars. Have you ever done that?
No, I haven't. But I'm with you. I'm with you. This is probably my biggest hobby outside of music as well. Is just health and fitness.
Yeah, no, and here's the thing. I overdo everything. I find something exciting about a supplement, and I overdo it completely and almost kill myself. But anyway, it's a fun journey, and I like to push. I like to push boundaries, for myself as well.
Yeah. Do you listen to Huberman podcast? Yeah, he's the best. He totally changed the game for my sleeping habits.
Yeah, well, no, let's give me your 3 top sleeping habits that you need for optimal sleep.
Early morning sunlight, evening sunlight as well. So basically sunrise, sunlight, sundown, sunset sunlight, like the different low angles. And then, let's see, what would be my third?
Well, all the stuff the night before, right?
Probably for me, it's shutting down all the electronic stuff and reading for like an hour with warm lighting before bed. I think I remember him talking about that.
The new thing that I still need to actually buy a device is EMFs. So just, turning off the Wi-Fi, turning off all the electronics around the bed. It's something that I'm really interested in because I guess it can be huge on your sleep, and some people will have a ton in their walls that they don't even know about because there's wires and things like that. So it's the next thing that I'm looking into.
Oh, interesting. I haven't even heard about that.
Yeah, so your Wi-Fi is emitting, electronic vibes, we'll say, radiation to you. And so at a minimum, put your phone on airplane mode if it's right by your bed.
Sure.
But apparently there's other stuff that you should be worried about. So anyway, that's, like I said, it's a whole thing. We could talk about this forever.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, where can people find you? Where can people keep up with you before we sign off?
Well, if someone needs help with their, music career, Top Music Attorney on YouTube. And if you need a consultation, sometimes people are like, I got a problem, or I want to do a career evaluation or a business evaluation. That's just a consultation. So that's through Delgado Entertainment Law, which is our firm. We represent clients all over the United States. And actually, we do have international clients as well. Let's see. And all things music, it's just Miss Krystle.
All right. So. Thanks so much. It's been great chatting with you. And we'll be in touch about releases and all that stuff.
Okay, sounds good. Talk to you soon.
Bye.